The Galactic Council chamber floated in silence. It was a massive dome of light and steel, suspended above a dying star. Representatives from every known civilization sat in their shimmering seats, their colors reflecting on the polished floor. At the center stood the chair of the council, his voice trembling as he announced the news that would ripple through the stars for centuries. Humans have withdrawn from the peace talks. No one spoke. The words hung in the air like a fading echo. For months, the council had tried to convince the human delegation to remain, to believe that cooperation could still work. But now the seats once occupied by the Terran diplomats were empty. Their flag, a simple white circle with a blue crest, had been quietly removed from the hall. It was over. For years, the humans had been a strange addition to the galactic stage. They were late to the stars compared to the ancient empires that had ruled for thousands of years. But within decades, humanity had risen fast. Too fast. Their ships crossed the void with engines few could match. Their colonies bloomed on barren worlds. Their scientists tore apart old knowledge and rebuilt it in new ways. Some species saw them as a threat, others as a mystery. But all had to admit one thing. Humans were unstoppable once they made up their minds. The peace talks had been the Council's final attempt to stop a new galactic war. Border disputes had spread between human colonies and old alien territories. The Council wanted negotiation. Humans wanted fairness. But fairness, it seemed, meant something different to them. The chief delegate of the Council remembered the last day clearly. He remembered the human ambassador standing up, his voice calm but firm. "You call this peace," the ambassador had said. "But every proposal demands that we surrender something. You tell us to stay humble, to be patient, to let your ancient systems decide our fate. We tried that. It doesn't work." He had paused then, looking across the room filled with species of all forms and colors. "You ask for peace, but what you really want is control. We will not be part of that. Humanity will decide its own path." And with that, the humans left the hall. No one stopped them. No one could. After that, silence fell upon the Council's great chambers. Messages were sent, apologies crafted, but none were answered. Human fleets pulled back from shared zones. Their embassies closed one by one. On neutral stations, human ships no longer docked. Traders whispered that Earth had sealed its borders and begun preparing for something far larger than anyone could imagine. Some claimed that humans were building fleets the size of moons. Others said they were constructing a network of colonies outside the known galactic map, far beyond Council reach. The truth was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The humans were done talking. At first, the Council tried to present calm to the public. Press releases claimed that talks would resume, that the humans simply needed time. But weeks turned to months and nothing changed. A young officer from the Council's diplomatic corps finally said what everyone feared. "We didn't lose them in the talks," she whispered. "We lost them long before that. We just didn't see it." And she was right. Humanity had been growing distant for years. They had sent fewer delegates to council meetings, avoided public debates, and instead focused on strengthening their interstellar communities. On their worlds, they built cities that gleamed with quiet determination. They were not angry. They were resolved. Some species tried to mock them, calling them arrogant and short-sighted. But those who had fought beside humans knew better. They remembered how humans fought, not for glory but for survival. They remembered how human soldiers refused to abandon allies, even in hopeless situations. They remembered how human engineers turned scraps into miracles, how their medics saved lives of species they barely understood. Humanity was not perfect, but they were relentless. And when relentless people lose faith in diplomacy, history changes forever. The Council soon realized the scale of their mistake. Trade routes that relied on human technology began to fail. Frontier worlds once protected by human patrols became dangerous again. Piracy returned. Entire sectors fell silent. The balance that humans had unknowingly maintained began to crumble. In one meeting, the chair of the Council addressed the gathered species. His tone was low, almost fearful. "We underestimated them. We thought of them as newcomers, as children among elders. But they were never children. They were the spark we needed to survive, and now the spark is gone." Still, there were some who refused to give up. A small delegation, made up of younger diplomats from several species, decided to reach out secretly. They traveled in an unmarked ship to the edge of human space. They hoped to find someone, anyone willing to talk. After weeks of silence, they finally reached a quiet planet orbiting a dim star. It was one of the early human colonies, abandoned decades ago. They landed and waited. For days no one came, but on the fifth day a signal appeared. It was a human vessel, sleek and dark, descending slowly through the clouds. When it landed, a lone human stepped out. No guards, no escort, just one person, calm and unreadable. The diplomats introduced themselves, explaining that they came without the council's knowledge. The human listened quietly, saying nothing. Finally, one of the delegates asked, "Is there truly no way to restore peace?" The human looked at the sky, then back at them. "Peace isn't something you restore," he said. "It's something you protect. You let it die because you thought we'd always come back. You were wrong." The words were not cruel, only sad. The human turned to leave, but paused one last time. "Tell your council this. Humans don't hate them. We just don't trust them anymore. And once trust is gone, no treaty can bring it back." Then he walked away. The delegation returned to the council and reported everything. The chamber once again fell into silence. No one argued. No one even tried to find fault. They all knew the truth. That day, the Galactic Council issued a rare statement. It read, "After extensive efforts, the Galactic Council formally admits its failure to maintain peace with the human civilizations. We respect their decision to withdraw and hope one day trust may return." The message spread across every world. Some wept, others raged, but on Earth the announcement barely made the news. Humanity had already moved on. They were building new alliances among themselves, forming a united network of colonies bound by a single purpose: to protect their freedom, no matter the cost. In the following years, human space expanded quietly but purposefully. They no longer relied on alien technology or trade. They began constructing something vast and secret, a network of gates and defense platforms that stretched between stars. The Council sent probes to observe, but most never returned. One day, a research satellite caught a glimpse of what lay beyond the border: a massive human ship, larger than any ever seen before. It wasn't armed for war, but for endurance. Its engines glowed brighter than a sun, and its hull bore a single inscription: "We remember." The message spread across the stars, sparking awe and fear alike. Some called it a warning, others a promise. Years passed. Conflicts erupted among the Council species, as old rivalries resurfaced without human mediation. Yet whenever war seemed close, fleets mysteriously vanished. Armies found themselves stranded. Someone, or something, was quietly maintaining balance from the shadows. Rumors began to spread that humanity had not truly isolated itself, that they were watching, guiding, ensuring no one repeated the mistakes of the past, but no one knew for certain. In the quiet halls of the Galactic Council, an old diplomat often stood by the window looking at the faint blue dot that was Earth. "They warned us," he would whisper. "We thought we could shape them, but in truth, they shaped us." He often wondered what humanity had become, whether they still dreamed of peace, or whether they had learned that peace could only exist when strength stood behind it. One evening, as he watched the stars, a faint signal blinked across the Council's network. It carried no signature, no source, just a simple message in human code. It read, "We haven't forgotten. We still believe in peace, but it must be earned, not demanded." The Council members gathered to read it. Some were hopeful, others fearful, but all agreed on one thing: the humans had spoken again. And when humans speak, the galaxy listens. In that moment, the old diplomat smiled for the first time in years. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. Far across the void, beyond the borders of known space, the great human fleets continued their silent watch. Their ships moved like shadows among the stars, their purpose hidden but unshakable. They no longer needed approval, nor recognition. They had found something far greater: the unity that comes only when a species understands who they are and what they stand for. They were no longer participants in the Council's fragile peace. They had become its guardians from afar. And though the galaxy would one day remember many wars and alliances, it would always remember the day humanity walked away. Not in anger, but in quiet resolve. Because sometimes walking away is not surrender. It is strength. And among the stars, humanity had proven once again why they were different. Not because they were the strongest. Not because they were the smartest, but because when hope fades, humans rebuild it. When peace shatters, they remember. And when trust is lost, they create a new beginning. The stars burned silently as the Council's transmission faded, leaving only the echo of a truth that would endure for ages. Humanity does not yield,